Hello and welcome to Shanghai Qingpu for the first edition of the Giro d'Italia Ride Like a Pro China. Alberto Contador, Ivan Basso, Paolo Bettini, Gilberto Simoni, the Schleck brothers and Robbie McEwen are among some of the legends here for this event. But they're not just here as a reunion or to race against each other, they're also here to share their knowledge with the locals across a great weekend of cycling for riders of all ages and abilities. Renowned as the most beautiful race in the most beautiful place, the Giro d'Italia was first held in 1909 and is steeped in history with an honour roll that includes the greats of the sport. Italy's rich cycling history now meets China's world-famous cycling culture, one that is evolving from a mode of transport to recreation and racing. The Giro d'Italia Ride Like a Pro is an experience like no other. 16 icons of the sport with 1,600 locals. Let's now meet some of the stars of the event.
Well, it's definitely, an experience to be here again, with our old rivals, teammates, and actually, really looking forward for the event.
Sent the list around to all my friends, like, look at all these riders that are coming to this event. It's quite an impressive list of characters that are coming here.
For me, it was incredible. No? When I saw the list of the ex-professional cyclists, it's a dream team.
After 5 years without race, it's a new opportunity.
L'Italia ha un bel sentimento nel
Italian
mondo.
people are greatly respected around the world
questa grande storia,
because we have a long history. But I think it's great that cycling
io credo che è bello che il
is
ciclismo
now also
cresca in
spreading
tutto il mondo.
around the
I
world.
think it's very good for the Chinese guys because when I have the big star like Bettini, like George, McEwen, is a good way for starting for the future of the cycling in China.
I think it's really nice to be a part of a sport that's growing in China, not only in participation but in popularity. They've got a whole lot of races here, lots of professional tours, so it's good to be part of that.
The most important is try to give to this young rider the motivation to work hard, to be a professional and come in Europe and ride Giro d'Italia in the future. They have to feel the pink like a dream to follow.
There's a lot of fun, but what about the race? Who do they think will actually win the big one?
My condition is perfect.
Mine is also the same like you.
Pozzato no?
No, Pozzato no. Simoni no.
Simoni no?
O'Grady, McEwen.
No.
George. He's serious.
Well,
Definitely Contador.
Contador looks pretty fit. Ballon looks skinny. Frank, could hide behind his own toothbrush.
I think Fran's leg is very skinny. I think.
There's no big climbs, so it's going to be, he's a fast sprinter, McEwen, he's there of course.
Even though Bettini has not raced in 12 or 14 years, do not underestimate him. He can win this.
I leave you the victory, and you give me the prize.
Yes, okay, good.
Any sprinter with a finish line in sight, there could be carnage.
And before the racing all gets underway, the riders had an opportunity to play the role of tourists and go and explore Shanghai itself. As for the birthday boy, Alberto Contador, it was a rare opportunity to have some cake. Celebrating his 37th birthday, the two-time winner of the Giro d'Italia had one of his great former rivals and teammates, Ivan Basso, with him, along with both of the Schleck brothers, as they all celebrated Alberto Contador the very best for his 37th. And they all had a little bit of the cake with him as well. Alberto Contador, one of the great ambassadors, not just for the Giro d'Italia, but also for the sport itself. Lots of people wanting to get a photo with the stars before they get underway. 16 legends of the sport on the start line, 70 kilometres worth of racing. And they've got teams that include 3 local riders with them. Let's now take a look at the circuit itself. It starts in Shanghai in front of the National Convention and Exhibition Centre, which is in the shape of a 4-leaf clover. The architect was looking for good luck. Who will have the good luck today? It's a predominantly flat course as they make their way out towards the far end of the circuit. It is across the stunning double bridge. Then onto the turnaround point where they make the most of the Rainbow Bridge. Then they make the return over the double bridge, the flat run for home. And for the climbers, this will be the moment where they'll need to look to attack to try and get away from some of the sprinters. And who will make it back to the National Convention and Exhibition Centre first to claim glory in the first edition of the Giro d'Italia Ride Like a Pro China. Let's meet the teams in the pink colours. It's Team Contador with Alberto and Ivan Basso, along with 3 local riders, Basso and Contador, both dual winners of the Giro d'Italia. Team Schleck, Frank and Andy together again. They have one of 3 female riders in this race on their team. Andy Schleck, a former winner of the Tour de France. Frank has finished in 3rd position in that race. The Italian combination, it's Team Balan, Alessandro Balan, the 2008 world champion. He's joined by the ever-experienced Max Lally. And once again, the boys in orange, they've got 3 locals to offer their support out on the road. The world champions, it's Team Ferreira, Oscar Ferreira, a triple world champion, and Paolo Bettini, a dual world champion. He's also got an Olympic Games gold medal to his name. They're in blue, they'll be easy to spot, they'll be looking for the sprints. It's Rodriguez, it's the Spaniards. Joaquim Rodriguez is joined by the former world champion Igor Asteloa, and they also have one of the women on their team. They're in purple. Team Hincapi, George Hincapi leading this team in black, along with Filippo Pozzato and Feng Jilu, one of the 3 female riders on that squad, supporting Hincapi and Pozzato. The sprinters, appropriately in green, a colour that they battled for on the roads of the Tour de France. O'Grady and McEwen, former fierce rivals. How well will they combine together today? And in the light green, it is Team Chavanel with Sylvain Chavanel and the former dual winner of the Giro d'Italia, Gilberto Simoni. And once again, 3 locals get their experience from 2 of the greats of the sport. And Sylvain Chavanel holds the record of the most participations ever in the Tour de France with 18. Lining up behind all these riders in the Legends race, there are 1,600 nervous participants ready to go in the mass participation event, but they'll have to wait another 25 minutes or so before they get to start. As for all the Legends, the talk is over. The whistle goes, or the hooter goes to get them started. But just as we see at the Giro d'Italia itself, it's neutral for the first kilometre. They're behind the Maserati. Would you expect anything less? The red flag is out. When that flag comes in, then the racing can get started. The light green colours in the centre with the orange sleeves. That's Sylvain Chavanel. No, he's not going to rob a bank. It's cold. He's got the scarf on around the neck and he's lifted that up over the mouth and the nose as well. It is around about 0 degrees. But despite the fact that it's cold, the conditions are still really good. There's virtually no wind at all. Making their way past the National Exhibition and Convention Centre, as we saw with the course profile, this is shaped like a 4-leaf clover, referring to good luck and fortune. It uses environmentally friendly LED lighting system, and it's also the first exhibition centre equipped with an enclosed vertical pipeline garbage collecting system. And it was the host of the biggest exhibition in China just a couple of years ago. Stuart O'Grady off on the left-hand side of the screen. He also has the neck scarf on and lifting that up, Sylvain Chavanel style, just over the top of the mouth. For many of the European riders, this will take them back to the start of the season. Throughout their career, the early races in Europe where the weather was very similar to what they're experiencing today. A little brisk at the beginning of the day, but that shouldn't cause them any problems. No forecast for rain, no wind to speak of either. The car's starting to accelerate. It looks as if the flag is about to come in and the race officially getting underway. Almost. Chavanel looks a little toey, doesn't he? He wants to get on with things. He's not the youngest rider in this race amongst the legends. That title belongs to Andy Schleck, who has been retired for a few years now. But Andy Schleck, the winner of the 2010 Tour de France, is still just 34 years of age. He's younger than Chris Froome, who will go to next year's Tour de France as one of the favourites to win the race. Chris Froome, also a recent winner of the Giro d'Italia. Sylvain Chavanel, retiring at the end of last season, having completed the Tour de France or participated in the Tour de France for a record-breaking 18th time. Robbie McEwen with the hand up at the front, just letting everybody know that they're making the right-hand turn, ensuring that the entire peloton is safe. Now they've made their way out of the parking area of the exhibition centre. They have the all clear, the flag has come in, the race, and the first edition of the Giro d'Italia Ride Like a Pro China is underway. And not surprisingly, the first man to attack is the charismatic Frenchman. It's Sylvain Chavanel, who is on the move. One of the local riders in the pink colours on Team Contador is marking the move to make sure that the Contador-Basso combination are represented in any of the early breakaways. Andy Schleck also riding up towards the front. All bunched together down at the back of the peloton. The action at the front with Chavanel. Three riders with a small advantage off the front of the peloton. This is Frank Schleck, who spoke a couple of days ago about the fact that he's skinny, he's a climber, this course is flat, and he will need to go on the attack, and that is exactly what Frank Schleck is doing. He won a couple of significant stages at the Tour de France throughout his career, including one to the most famous mountain in that race, to the top of Alpe d'Huez. The orange colours are now also coming through towards the front. This is Alessandro Ballan that is coming through to the front, former world champion. He won that title back in 2008. He won that on Italian soil, incidentally. That was in Varese. There he is rolling through to the front, and they've got one of the local riders with them. And sitting at the back of the group, this is Chen Long, who's at the rear of the group. He's one of the teammates of Sylvain Chavanel. So Chavanel, the light green colours, are making sure that his team is represented in any of the breaks. And as you heard from Stuart O'Grady, Frank Schleck could hide behind the shadow of his own toothbrush. He has not put on any weight at all since retiring. Chen Long at the rear, those light green colours, a little look across the shoulder to see what sort of an advantage this breakaway group of three is managing to establish from the peloton. The blue colours that you can now see at the front of the peloton, this is one of the local Chinese riders in support of Team Freire, the team of Oscar Freire and Paolo Bettini. Two of the great characters of the sport, brilliant one-day riders, both of them multiple world champions. Oscar Freire, a three-time world champion. Paolo Bettini, dual world champion. But Bettini also a winner of the Olympic Games gold medal. That was back in 2004. Oscar Freire and Paolo Bettini both also participated in the Olympic Games in Beijing in 2008, when Bettini was here as the defending champion. And for Oscar Freire, he didn't win, but his teammate, Sammy Sanchez of Spain, did manage to pick up the victory. Out to a 13-second advantage now for the leading group of three riders. Got the impression that Sylvain Chavanel early on was pretty keen to get racing quickly, simply to warm up. Frank Schleck with a check across the shoulder to see what sort of advantage he's getting over the peloton and to assess who's doing the chasing, because the advantage now is back down to just 10 seconds. as Balan rolls through to the front. This is the National Exhibition and Convention Centre of Shanghai, which successfully held the second China International Import Expo. Also a chance to observe the West China Information Tech Park and one of the two major industrial bases on the outskirts of central Shanghai. Also the Badland Outlets Plaza, which has a significant shopping centre with more than 300 stores and over 400 brands represented. This is the mass participation ride getting underway. 1,600 participants. Many of the riders in this event participated in some of the events that were held on the Saturday as well, where there was a short circuit race across a circuit of 5 kilometres. There was then a ride around the course, get a chance to rub shoulders with the legends that we're seeing now racing for honours in the Giro d'Italia Ride Like a Pro. We then had a chance to see some of the kids out on the balance bikes, which was really good to see. And also at the end of the day, there was a team time trial. But just as we saw with the elite races, with the legends, they're in the neutral zone till they get out onto the course. And this has a similar feel to a mass participation running event, a London Marathon, a New York Marathon. The elites are out in front. The mass participation is now getting underway. Now this is a significant breakaway. This is Filippo Pozzato now who is at the front. This group has an advantage of 20 seconds. Pozzato in the black colours, a former winner of Milan-San Remo, also a stage winner in the Giro d'Italia. One of the more flamboyant characters of professional cycling throughout his career. Like Sylvain Chavanel, one of the recently retired professionals in this Legends race. Just behind him in the purple colours, that was Joaquim Rodriguez, who was so close to winning one of the big 3 Grand Tours, but just fell short. Second at the Giro d'Italia in 2012, when it was the Canadian rider Hejerdal who went out the winner. He was also a second place finisher in the Volta a España and a third place finisher at the Tour de France. So on the podium in all 3 Grand Tours, but unfortunately for him, he was never able to quite win one. Here he is at the front, affectionately known as Purito Rodriguez. Just behind him, once again, Alessandro Balan in the orange colours sneaks into the breakaway. Frank Schleck behind him in the red colours. Then also in orange, Max Lally with the fluoro colours. You can see the flash of fluoro from Max Lally. And behind him, looking across the shoulder, is Alberto Contador. It was Robbie McEwen in the green colours at the front, asking Andy Schleck, who was the rider in the red colours with the white sleeves, McEwen saying, "Who's in the breakaway?" And Andy just letting him know, "Don't worry about me, I'm okay. I can sit back here in the peloton because I've got my brother Frank, he's in that leading group." And this is a significant breakaway. Contador, Lally, Rodriguez, Schleck, Balan, Pozzato, and once again from China, Chen Long riding for Team Chavanel in the lime green colours for the second time has made it into the breakaway. He has certainly been the most aggressive so far, and if there was a most combative prize, Chen Long would be taking that prize home. This is Alessandro Balan at the front, who, as we heard earlier on from the legends in this race, Balan looks pretty skinny. He's doing plenty of training. This is the mass participation race, having started a little while after the legends got underway. They're moving along pretty quickly, but they will not be catching the legends. I'm sure what a lot of the riders in this group are trying to do is ride this 70-kilometre course as quickly as they possibly can, just to compare their time. This is the first chance to take a look at an aerial shot of the double bridge. This is where the breakaway is heading towards. Frank Schleck now at the front, But despite the fact he's been retired for a couple of years, he still rides 15,000 kilometres per year. This is the Double Bridge. Special site and tourist spot here in Qingpu. The Double Bridge is the longest single arch bridge in the Yangtze Delta area. When the bridge is viewed from a different angle, it takes the appearance of really becoming animated. This is Max Lally now coming through to the front in the orange colours. He's the eldest of the legends in this race. He was the winner of the Best Young Rider classification at the Giro d'Italia way back in 1991. This is the mass participation race once again, and the colours that we're seeing at the front are the same colours that we saw for those of us that have been here on site in Shanghai and had the privilege of watching in person the activities from yesterday. There's a few expats here that were really active in the event yesterday, and they're active once again today, and they're really making the most of riding on closed roads and getting a chance to compare themselves in terms of times against some of the greats of the sport. Here's Max at the front, followed by Alberto Contador. Now Contador, I was told that he didn't have too much of that cake for his 37th birthday just a couple of days ago. Watching the skin folds, making sure he stays fit. This is Pizzato in the black colours. And look at that average speed. Almost 40 kilometres per hour, the average speed. And the tempo will increase towards the finish. Frank Schleck at the back of the group. Frank will be pretty happy with the composition of this breakaway. There are no noted sprinters in the breakaway. And if it did come down to that group surviving through to the finish and contesting for the honours, I would just about put the money on Pippo Pizzato to be able to win from that group. Of those guys on paper, at least throughout his career, he was the quickest. This is back with the main peloton in the Legends race, looking to assess to see who is doing the chasing. And amongst the teams who have missed the breakaway, it is the dark green colours of Team O'Grady, the team of Stuart O'Grady and Robbie McEwen. But this is a good side at the front of the race. This is, by the looks of it, Juan Dongyan riding up towards the front in the red colours for Team Schleck, just controlling the tempo. The pink colours here, this is Ivan Basso, a winner of the Giro d'Italia in 2006 and also in 2010. Stuart O'Grady in the green colours. Just in front of him is Andy Schleck, and now in the front with the yellow helmet on the black colours, that is George Hincapie. Big George, as he was so affectionately known in the peloton. And when Alberto Contador won the Tour de France for the first time in 2007, George Hincapie was one of his teammates. Alberto Contador really has been embracing this experience. He's been pretty keen to make sure that the other legends in the race are motivated to make things quick. And based on the average speed that we've seen so far, at almost 40 kilometres per hour, it has been quick. The road surface is perfect as well. The riders will be absolutely pleased with that. So often we see that etiquette within a race of riders pointing out for potholes, any obstacles on the road. There'll be no need for that this afternoon. Pretty early start for the riders. The weather conditions a little chilly. The forecast of just 3 degrees, and that's the minimum temperature, but it dropped below that, closer to 0 degrees at the start today. And Chen Long is not intimidated by the big names in this race. Representing Team Chavanel in the light green colours at the front, he is working with some of the all-time greats of the sport. That's Pizzato behind him in second position, followed then by Rodriguez. Taking a view down upon the leading group and then the chasers, they're back at 44 seconds behind. That's going to make the chase fairly difficult and could take a little bit of a sting out of the tail of the sprinters. Notably, the two key sprinting teams, the blue team of Team Freire and the dark green team of Team O'Grady, they're the two teams with the best sprinters in the race. They've missed this breakaway. Frank Schleck here at the front, followed by Max Lally. Then it's Alberto Contador. Chen Long sitting there in 4th position. They look like ski gloves being worn by Frank Schleck. This is Max Lally, always with a big smile on his face. Finished in 3rd place overall at the Giro d'Italia when he won the Best Young Rider classification back in 1991. Also a winner of 2 stages at that race, and a winner of 16 professional races, in fact, throughout his career. What is impressive about the orange team is they've managed to get their 2 team leaders, Alessandro Ballan and Max Lally, into this breakaway. Which is good news for their Chinese riders playing that support role. They can sit back in the peloton and just enjoy riding in amongst the best. Sit on the wheels, watch the others do the chasing. And this is not surprising. It's the blue colours of Team Freire. They're coming up towards the front. So too the dark green colours of Team O'Grady. Both of those teams, they're using their local Chinese riders to do the chasing, to save their stars for the sprint. Hopefully for their sake, a little bit later on. This is Zhu Zhang, who is on the front for Team Freire. There is Paolo Bettini in those blue colours. There is Oscar Freire in the blue colours. When he won his first world title in 1999, it was a really big surprise. Not too many people outside of Spain anticipated him to be any sort of a chance to win that world title. He didn't have many race days in his legs, but he won, and then he backed it up, and he won the world title 2 more times throughout his career. Making our way towards the lake and towards the Rainbow Bridge. This is Max Lally leading the breakaway group, making up an advantage now of 51 seconds. This is a significant lead. This is going to take some serious chasing from behind. Contador looking comfortable in second, always marking the moves. This historical town of China known as the Venice of Shanghai. Not surprisingly, with its beautiful rivers making its way through this stunning old historic town. There's also Danshan Lake, which is known as the Oriental Geneva Lake, with its rowing, dragon boats, sailing training centre for Shanghai. Plus there's the Chenyu Memorial Hall and the Qingpu Museum, which was founded in 1958 and has more than 19,000 collection pieces. There's the lake with its beautiful yachts, an opportunity to make the most of this lake, as we saw just a moment ago, but those in the race, they won't get to do so. This is Filippo Pozzato, winner of the 2006 Milan-San Remo. He just snuck off the front with around about 1,500 metres to go, and you would still make a strong argument that that's the most significant victory of his career. This is the Rainbow Bridge, the aerial shot as we get a chance to look at it before the peloton make their way across. The Rainbow Bridge, together with the coastline, it forms a butterfly, just like Qingpu itself. And in China, the rainbow, it refers to fortune that comes after great efforts. Those of us with an Anglo-Saxon background, we think of the rainbow and the pot of gold that comes at the end. But in Chinese culture, the rainbow is the reward that comes from great efforts. Obviously, the designer of the bridge is hoping that the bridge embodies the fast-developing Qingpu region, which is working hard. So too is this breakaway group. Onto the bridge, Ballan out to 55 seconds. It's a magnificent piece of engineering as the breakaway group, they're enjoying their moment. A little bit of a rise as they come up over the arches. Ballan at the front, followed then by Frank Schleck. Max Lally it is in the orange colours. This is the chase, and once again, it's the blue colours of Team Freire. What Oscar Freire and Paolo Bettini also have in common is they're both former winners of Milan-San Remo. There's another view of the bridge. The aerial shot really does do it justice. 54 seconds to breakaway with 32.3 kilometres remaining. And it is a strong breakaway, including Alberto Contador, who is a dual winner of the Giro d'Italia. In fact, in this race, there are 3 two-time winners of the Giro d'Italia. Alberto Contador and Ivan Basso, both riding together on the team wearing the pink colours. And also on Team Chavanel is Gilberto Simoni, who won the Giro d'Italia in 2001 and 2003. And throughout his career, he also won 7 stages in the Giro d'Italia. Well, he's all smiles at the front, Alberto Lally, but he's one of the few riders amongst the legends who didn't get the memo about the potential cold weather in this event. He forgot to pack the full-length leg warmers, so perhaps that's the reason that he's in the breakaway, doing so much of the pacemaking. He simply wants to keep warm. It's not a bad strategy. And despite the fact that Max is the oldest of the riders in this race, he is still amongst the fittest. But what has been really impressive is Chen Long in the light green colours from Team Chavanel, still in this breakaway, still working well. There he is sitting in second position. A little bit of a split in the group. Max Lally opening up the gap, takes a look across the shoulder. Does anybody want to come with me? They make their way off the bridge. Chasing group closing it down ever so slightly. It's back to 48 seconds. This is Andy Schleck at the front, followed then by Oscar Freire. In addition to his 3 world titles, Oscar Freire, a winner of Milan-San Remo 3 times. This is the breakaway: Contador, Lally, Rodriguez, Schleck, Balan, Pozzato. Meanwhile, back in the mass participation race, it's a similar pattern of racing to what we're seeing amongst the legends. Lots of breakaways, a chase from the peloton, it comes back together, somebody else has a rush of blood, and they go on the attack once again. Chen now on the attack with Max Lally. What a great experience this is for Chen Long from Team Chavanel. You can see the rocking of the shoulders of the rider in the light green colours. He's feeling the pressure a lot more than Max Lally. But Max, the experienced campaigner in this race, he wants to share his experience, help grow the sport. He's really encouraging Chen Long to stick with him and see if they can defy the odds and hold off the chasers. Inside the last 30 kilometres, down to just 27.6 Ks to go. 2 riders off the front. The remnants of that breakaway group stuck in the middle. The peloton closing in at 34 seconds behind. And this is now Paolo Bettini himself who was on the front. Extraordinary career, Paolo Bettini. Olympic Games gold medalist. That was in Athens in 2004. Dual world champion. He won the rainbow jersey in 2006. Backed it up again in 2007. Dual winner of the Giro Lombardia 05 and 06, and a 2-time winner of Liège, Bastogne-Liège. Plus, he took out the Milan-San Remo in 2003. Phenomenal. This is the experience of a lifetime for Chen Long. He would have been absolutely delighted when he was one of the lucky few that got to be part of one of these legends teams and ride alongside the likes of Max Lally, and now he's in the breakaway. Max across to the race official car, just trying to get an update on what the time gap is. Not too often that you see race officials in a Maserati. Max Lally with a very serious look on his face as they go past the Schleck brothers. Schleck brothers on the billboard. There's plenty of billboards scattered along the course and throughout Shanghai promoting this event. There's a brief look at the summary of the career of Max Lally. 3rd overall in the Giro in '91 when he also won the Best Young Rider classification. And now it's Andy Schleck who is on the front as he goes past the banner that holds his picture along with his brother Frank. And now that Frank is no longer at the front of the race, that breakaway has split in two. Andy Schleck has decided, well, it's time for me to try and close it down to see if I can get the job finished. He really did burst onto the scene, Andy Schleck, in the Giro d'Italia of 2007. It was his first big Grand Tour, the 3-week races, and he finished in 2nd position overall, and he won the Best Young Rider classification. Later went on to win multiple stages at the Tour de France, plus win the race overall. Max Lally in the orange colours, Chen Long in the green. And some encouragement from Max to keep the pressure on. Back in the peloton, that breakaway group has been caught. Robbie McEwen at the front, having a brief conversation with Frank Schleck, just trying to work out what's still happening at the front. And here's the answer. It's down to just 12 seconds now, the advantage for the leading group of 2. Max Lally still looking strong. And you can see the suffering in the body of Chen Long. He is looking across the shoulder. The hips are starting to rock and roll. He is under some serious pressure. And Max is into the time trial position. He's not waiting for anybody. If they want to catch Max, they're going to have to get on the pedals and step across the roads of Shanghai and bridge across. And you can see the Italian, he's still looking to try and encourage Chen Long. But Chen looks as if he is just about spent. As they're heading back home, this is the double bridge once again. It is the longest arch bridge in the Yangtze Delta area. One of the great tourist attractions. From various angles, and as we pan across it, you can see the way it starts to look animated. Beautiful shot as they make their way across the bridge. Number 101, Alberto Contador, now back in the safety of the peloton after that long breakaway. Max Lally now on his own. Chen Long has been dropped, and Lally is going for a long one with just inside 23 kilometres remaining. It's a tough task on his own, but he did have a long and distinguished career with 16 victories. And as you can see, the double bridge looking like a double helix, the only one of its kind in China. Bettini and Freire, the 2 riders on the front as they make their way past a picture of the peloton, another symbol of the promotion of this great event here in China. The Giro d'Italia, the most beautiful race in the most beautiful place as it is so often promoted, is putting on a wonderful event in Shanghai. Chen Long about to be caught by the peloton as there's a bit of a reaction coming from one of his teammates as he's caught. That looks like Sylvain Chavanel in the distance, who is trying to bridge across to Max Lally, and that would make a strong tandem out in front. Contador with a quick assessment. McEwen and O'Grady together in the green colours. Contador looking for Basso to have a chat and work out. What do we do next? Shanghai, it has many commercial centres, including the Beilong Square, and it also has the commercial centre of Wandumao, along with the water park of Shenzhen Square, which is along the 21-kilometre waterfront corridor, with its famous Fountain Square and its large musical fountain in Qingpu, which is one of the great tourist attractions in the region. This is back with the mass participation race, which is again following that same pattern that we're seeing with the Legends. Breakaway off the front, quickly getting reeled back in, another attempt to try and break away. But what is impressive about this mass participation race is the speed. They are quick as they are now making their way across the Rainbow Bridge. And what a great opportunity for them to be racing on fully closed roads. This is Chavanel in the light green colours. 7-time French national champion, once in the road race, 6 times in the individual time trial. Making their way past another one of the promotional banners to Ride Like a Pro. Chavanel and Lally now being caught. The rider in the purple colours who has done the chasing to close it down, that is Igor Astaloa. The Spaniard from the Basque Country, Igor Astaloa, was the winner of the World Championships back in 2003. This is Filippo Pizzata now in the black colours at the front, followed by Paolo Bettini. Then it's Ivan Basso. And the green colours in 4th position that you can see is still Chen Long from Team Chavanel. Chen has not missed a beat today. There's been 3 notable breakaways and he's been in every single one of them. And he is still at the front with 13.5 kilometres still to race. Peloton now all back together. The obvious question is, who's the next to attack? This is Ivan Basso in the pink colours. A little stretch of the legs. And Chen Long, once again, is the first to respond and try and go with him. Chen couldn't quite stick with Max Lally. I guess the flick of the elbow from Ivan Basso. Basso continues to talk, tries to encourage Chen Long to just keep on working. Bettini now, the little cricket as he's affectionately known, rides across in the blue colours. Bettini now the manager of the national Italian squad for the World Championships and the Olympic Games. Back to the mass participation race, and they are seriously moving. There's some pride at stake for these riders as well to see who can win on the same day as one of the Legends. Another attack going from the mass participation race. It is on. Meanwhile, Max Lally is still on the front. He's broken away, he's been caught. He's broken away, he's caught again. Contador and Schleck side by side once again. And there's Frank Schleck. This is Oscar Freire, the triple world champion, 3-time winner of Milan-San Remo. Multiple stage winner as well at the Tour de France. This is now George Hincapie, one of the great road captains of the sport. The success of George Hincapie is not measured by his own wins, but how he supported others. A little group now slipping away, 3 riders building up an advantage of 15 seconds. And a real rarity, Max Lally has missed the move. So Max is on the front doing the chasing for Team Balan. Past another one of the billboards. It's Hincapie, followed by Rodriguez, and then Oscar Freire. Shake of the head from Oscar Freire. Does he want to work with George Hincapie? He should, because between those 3, Oscar Freire would certainly be the quickest. McEwen now attacks. Andy Schleck is on the wheel. Alessandro Ballan picks up the chase. Paolo Bettini is with him. Contador responds. We've said that before, haven't we? Schleck attacks, Contador responds, the race is on. And now Frank Schleck at the front trying to slow things down. He sees his younger brother get into the breakaway. He's happy with the situation. And once again, the green colours, the light green colours of Team Chavanel, Chen Long is trying desperately to join the breakaway. This is Andy Schleck with a flick of the elbow. Alessandro Ballan obliges. Robbie McEwen at the back of the group. He would like this situation. He'd fancy himself against a few of these climbers in a sprint finish. Meanwhile, back in the peloton, 8:05, Sylvain Chavanel. He would be very happy with number 803, his teammate, Chen Long, who just keeps on getting into the breaks. And Chen has made it. He's bridged across to that breakaway, and he's amongst the leaders. Bettini swings off from the front. Contador now working. Next in line is Purito Rodriguez. This is the mass participation event once again, and just like the Legends, it's 3 riders off the front, a little bit of cat and mouse, and they're all looking at each other as they open up an advantage over the big group of riders in the mass participation events. No doubt they'll be really looking forward to seeing how their time compares with the likes of Contador and Rodriguez. George Hincapie in second position with the yellow helmet on. Sits on the wheel of Joaquim Rodriguez. Rodriguez with the distinction of having finished on the podium at all 3 Grand Tours, the tours of Italy, France and Spain. And you could see the body language of Contador at the back of this group, working really hard to get into the slipstream of Robbie McEwen. This is no walk in the park. Tang Hao in the orange colours from Team Berlan, trying to get across, but it looks like he may not make it. And that look across the shoulder is always a bad sign. The race is in front, no good looking behind. The legs are just about cooked. Oscar Freire in blue. He has his teammate Paolo Bettini with him. They have the numerical advantage, and they're 2 very rapid sprinters. This is Alessandro Ballan. He's been active throughout the day. And it's good to see the rider in 3rd position in the red colours with the white sleeves, Andy Schleck in the breakaway. Reacquainting himself with Alberto Contador, 2 great rivals throughout their career. But at the back of the group, the blue colours, Oscar Freire has lost contact with the breakaway. One last big turn of pace at the front. It's now up to the Cricket's Paolo Bettini to see if he can get the job done for the team in blue. .701 at the back of the group. This is from Team O'Grady. This is Zhao Duao. The riders here in support of the Legends. There's 3 local Chinese riders riding in support of the Legends, and they have done a brilliant job. Max Lally in the orange colours at the front. He's happy with the situation. He's got Alessandro Ballan in that breakaway. There's Oscar Freire. He was in the move. The leg's a little juicy. He's been distanced. 101 Alberto Contador, and 8:03 Chen Long still at the head of the race, still in with a chance to cause the big upsets. There he is in the light green colours. McEwen swings off from the front. Nobody wants to go to the finish line with Robbie McEwen, a 12-time stage winner at the Giro d'Italia. Also a winner of 3 green jerseys at the Tour de France, hence Team O'Grady and McEwen, they have to be wearing green. And Contador in pink, he's aware of the fast finishing McEwen with just inside 5 kilometres remaining. It's Contador who goes on the charge. That's not a smile, it's a grimace, a quick check across the shoulder. What sort of damage has been done? Ballan at the front. He's the rider with the responsibility of doing the chasing. Bettini takes a look around. A little bit of cat and mouse. Who does the chase and try and close things down? And if Alberto Contador is to look across the shoulder past the Maserati, he'll see that it's Robbie McEwen himself who's trying to limit the gains of Contador. Il Pistolero, as I think it might have been a self-titled nickname for Alberto Contador, as the result of his famous victory salute with each of his wins as he fired a shot when he went across the line. This is back in the main peloton. This is Contador's teammates. This is Ivan Basso. Basso himself, a dual winner of the Giro d'Italia, but the last time Contador won the Giro in 2015, Ivan Basso was his most important teammate, and they're reunited in Shanghai for the Giro d'Italia Ride Like a Pro, and they're riding like a couple of old pros, coordinating really well together. Little bit of a rise in the road, just on 3.5 kilometres still to go for Alberto Contador. The sensations are coming back. He can almost smell the finish line, but the legs are filling up with lactic acid. What we do know about Alberto Contador since his retirement is that he still rides a lot and he still rides really quickly. Well, that group has just about been caught by the remnants of the peloton. Max Lally closing things down. In fact, that was Ivan Basso and Frank Schleck. They had a little bit of a split. Max Lally is bringing it back together as Contador now, to that third group on the road, is out to a 19-second advantage. In his first year into retirement, Alberto Contador, working at the Tour de France, he rode one of the final climbs at the Tour, and granted, he hadn't ridden the Tour up until that point. It was at the beginning of the third week, and he hadn't ridden the entire stage. But his time just on that final climb was still the third fastest time for the day. Yeah, he's retired, but he's still Alberto Contador, and he's still incredibly quick. Inside the last 3 kilometres. Contador looking smooth, but you can see the breathing is getting a little heavy. 20 seconds his advantage. Chavanel looking a little despondent in the light green colours. Trapped back in the main peloton with Pipo Pizzato just behind him in the all black colours. Max Lally in the orange with the fluoro colours scattered across the arms and the legs, and those orange shoes. He's been really active throughout this race. This is Contador, but for Sylvain Chavanel, I'm sure he'd like to tune into race radio to hear how Chen Long is going, because Chen is still in the chasing group, just a handful of seconds behind Contador. That 20-second graphic, it looks like it might be getting a little bit closer. The white sleeves that you can see doing the chasing, it's none other than Andy Schleck trying to chase Alberto Contador, and it's back down to 16 seconds. Contador can almost see the finish. That's Ballan chasing, followed by Andy Schleck, and Chen Long is amongst them. The podium beckons for one of the local heroes. Contador sprinting out of the corner. The average speed, a smidgen over 40 kilometres per hour, so this has been no walk in the park. This has been a brutal effort for Contador. The little look underneath the arm continues to check the whereabouts. Following that motorbike through the corners. No need to touch the brakes now for Contador. He knows this run in through to the finish line. It's the same way back in as they headed out earlier on this morning. He's just about got enough time, but that's how tight it is. A little bit of a flick towards one of the barriers, a bit of fun with the motorbike. Andy Schleck is still chasing, but Contador looks like he may well have it. Schleck trying to spoil the show. Chen Long is just biding his time and he's waiting. He slips himself in a second position. Contador is starting the fist pump. Will we see the pistol that he made so famous throughout his career? He sees the finishing arch. It will be Alberto Contador who goes out the winner of the first ever edition of the Giro d'Italia Ride Like a Pro China. Contador takes the win and he files the pistol. It's Ballan in second, and Chen Long has made the podium in third. Contador celebrates, he gives the thumbs up. Balan content with second. Rodriguez inside the top 5. The sprint for the minor placings was getting a little bit willing. There's Rodriguez in the purple with Alberto Contador. Here's a look at the final moment for Alberto Contador as he rounded the corner. He knew he had it at that point, and he could see the finish line. And once again, he raises his arms in victory. A familiar sight throughout his career, he does it again in retirement as he wins the Legends race in the Giro d'Italia Ride Like a Pro. But what about the man in the light green colours? Chen Long in third, just behind Alessandro Balan, who collects second. And a great thanks to Ivan Basso, the teammate of Alberto Contador. Just like old times for those two. And now it's time for the riders to debrief and tell their story of the day. Here's a look at how they finished. It was Contador winning ahead of Balan with Chen Long in third position. Andy Schleck in fourth, followed by Robbie McEwen winning home the bunch sprint for the top 5. And further down the list, still Van Chavanel, who was so active. Ivan Basso in 14th position. It was great to ride and learn from the legend riders and to see close up their skills and technique.
So I'm really happy because it's a really nice race, big road, really fast race, a lot of attack, but in the final Alberto was so strong, and in the final second, but it's okay for me, I'm really happy.
Yeah, it was incredible, no? The final, also because it was a flat race, but from the first moment I feel very good. It's true that I training every week, some days. But yeah, I feel good. I try to stay in all the breakaway, and also my teammate Ivan Basso helped to me. And yeah, the final I can take the victory is very special, no? Because it's the first victory in China for me, and for sure it's very special.
It was good fun, and the Chinese riders, I mean, some of them really took it to us, and one of them finished on the podium in the end. So their level is also pretty good. It was a lot of fun, but it was also a lot painful.
A lot painful, but what about the mass participation, right? This is Taylor Price, who was active throughout all the activities yesterday, has taken the victory today. So Taylor can say that he won on the same day, on the same course as Alberto Contador. They are bragging rights for Taylor Price, the winner of the mass participation ride. And didn't he enjoy the moments? And it looks a little Il Pistolero. I thought he was going to fire a shot just like Alberto. And the rest of them making their way across the finish line. For many of the riders in this event, 1,600 participants in the first ever edition of this event. It is a fantastic turnout, and it's sure to grow from here on forth. A lot of them, it is a huge accomplishment to finish a 70-kilometre ride. And you can see the celebrations all the way throughout. And in many mass participation events, whether it's triathlon, fun run, or cycling, it's finishing that is the most significant. Alberto Contador steps out onto the podium. Balan is in second, Chen Long in third. That's the conclusion of the first ever Giro d'Italia Ride Like a Pro China. Contador goes out the winner.